Yes, it is indeed the Renault Duster here on CNB. Welcome to a brand new episode. I am Siddharth Vinayak Patnankar, and we are going to take you through all the details. So many queries, questions, doubts, so much that you've been asking me about this car. All of that will be answered, but in just a few minutes, because first we're going to start off by not talking about the Duster, but indeed talking about the Mercedes-Benz A-Class. The newest car from Mercedes-Benz is not the kind you typically associate with the brand, at least not from an Indian mindset perspective anyway. And yet the A-Class is perhaps the car that will help Mercedes-Benz tackle some of its perception issues in our market and maybe other markets too. I flew into the Slovene capital of Ljubljana and drove to the coastal town of Portorož to test this new car. Now, for the past few years, people are seeing Mercedes-Benz as a bit of a stodgy old brand that isn't young, not vibrant, and not sexy. While still being upmarket, classy, and very good on technology. But this car is all of those things. I mean, just look at it. The new A-Class is the third generation of this compact car line from the Stuttgart-based company, and it breaks every mold in the Mercedes-Benz world. It's radical and aggressive. It's bold and dynamic. And all of that is just standing still. So I got all that before I'd even driven the car. Now, globally, there's been an urgency at Mercedes-Benz to change its image. The company wants to get a little bit younger, more dynamic, more spirited, and of course, a whole lot sportier. That's where a lot of this is coming from. The design language that you're seeing on the A-Class is really sort of a pointer into the direction that Mercedes-Benz is going in, and which is why it was important to stay true to the concept car. Now, the designers were almost surprised at the kind of leeway they were getting from the board. They said that, look, we're going to give you something really dynamic, really aggressive, and the board said, that's fine. So what you see in front is an almost feline sort of a characteristic. That's nice, that's very different, not something you've seen from Mercedes. The headlamp styling, the way the daytime running lights and the indicators go upwards, that's sweeping back in a sense. That's something you're going to see more and more. And remember, the LED daytime running lights have moved up. They used to be in the bumper down here. They have now moved up and become integrated with the headlamp cluster. The front grille, now that's reminiscent of classic Mercedes-Benz styling, and yet it's got a lot of aggression in it. And speaking of aggressive, the kind of lines you're seeing in the hood, all of that comes a little bit from the SLS, isn't it? Because you've seen that sort of stance, that sort of a ready to pounce, ready for action kind of a appeal, if you will. Now, this particular car has the AMG trim thrown in, which is why you have the extra apron up front in the bumper. You got the AMG spec and AMG badged alloy wheels as well. But that, of course, makes the car look a little bit sportier, I have to say. But it's not something that may be very practical for India, because it also lowers the suspension than the regular car, and it also adds this side skirt. So that's not practical for us. Now, what I do like, though, is this huge sunroof. It is something that makes the car look a little bit different, a little bit classier, if you will, compared to its rivals. Now, back here, despite all the kind of sharp lines and concave and convex surfacing that you're seeing on the side, back here, this line that drops back is, again, classic Mercedes-Benz, and that's, in a way, a nice throwback to some of the older cars. The tail lamp treatment, again, fairly dynamic, very different to what you've seen, and yet maintains a Mercedes kind of styling. Kind of reminds you, in fact, the rear 3/4 kind of reminds you of the old A-Class as well. Badging at the back tells you that this one, of course, is a diesel, and being the AMG trim, you do have the twin tailpipes and, again, a slightly sportier bumper at the rear as well. So it looks raring to go, doesn't it?
Normally in the design process, you make your statement in the beginning, and then the real hard work starts when you try and make that statement reality. And also designers tend to really push for their ideas and their creativity and we get a little bit, let's say, the development process and influence from various levels of management calm our designs down so that they have a sort of longevity. And actually, with the design of this car, was actually the opposite. So it's the first time I've ever experienced designing something, presenting it, and then being told, make it more expressive, make it more like a show car, be really provocative with the design. So it's a very unique project for Mercedes. We were very open to different ideas, to try something very sporty, very expressive. Also, we tried ideas where we were quite calm with the surfacing. We really explored many different areas. What was important for us as designers, we were told to really make the car sporty. It has to sit well, it has to have a really good stance. And we wanted the front of the car to really have a sporty expression. And therefore, I think maybe that's what you can see in the car from the SLS with the wide grille and the low grille. And we fought really hard with our engineers to come up with a package where the engine and the cooling and everything sits in the right place so that we can actually create quite a sexy shape. That was really important for us. So you can see with the grille of the car, it's much wider, much lower, completely different to the old car, has nothing to do with the old car. And I think that sportiness maybe relates a little bit to the SLS. And of course, in our top models, we have the grille with the pins, we have the jewellery in the grille. So we really have created a new face for the car. It doesn't need a lot to make something nice if you've got good proportions. Having said that, with this car, we not just fought for proportions, but also design. So we did both at the same time. And a big part of the project at the beginning was really getting the roof as low as possible, the bonnet at the front as low as possible, the overhangs as short as possible. And so, yeah, that basically it has very strong proportions. And my favourite bit of the car is actually, it has to do with that. It's a little bit the stance. When you see the car from rear three-quarter, it's the way the shoulder and the greenhouse have got this offset. So you've got this kind of small greenhouse, small rear window, and then this section coming out of the shoulder. And that sort of corner is for me, let's say a highlight of the car for me.
Well, I started off my A-Class experience in an A200 CDI, which is likely to be one of the mainstays of the range in terms of expected sales, especially in Europe. The car drove very smoothly, no perceptive lag, and very good acceleration, with a surprisingly light feel, perhaps a little too light. The A200 is currently the top of the range diesel in this car line. It belts out 136 horses and has a healthy 300 Nm of torque. The car also had the latest 7G DCT dual-clutch gearbox that Mercedes-Benz recently introduced, though you have the option of a 6-speed manual as well. The same 1.8-litre engine block is also available in the A180 CDI with a lower 109 bhp output. Now, that 7G DCT gearbox is essentially an automated 3-shaft manual transmission that uses 2 separate sub-transmissions with individual clutches. This allows for faster gear changes. You also have 3 modes: Sport, Economy and Manual. Sport allows for changes at higher revs, Economy focuses on higher efficiency, and Manual lets you switch to using paddle shifters to change gears at will. The A-Class also has an Eco mode, which is a start-stop system that helps save fuel when the car comes to a standstill in traffic. Now, being sporty and dynamic and aggressive on the outside was never going to be enough, because you had to maintain that characteristic on the inside too, which is why there was a specific brief to stay away from beige and wood finish. You don't see that here. It's just not available on the A-Class. I think that's a great idea. So you see sporty elements. It's black. You're seeing lots of metal. These are the kind of things that are going to definitely attract younger buyers. Nice use of metal, in fact. There's a carbon fiber finish that's been given here. Some of this is optional, no doubt about it. And some of it, of course, gets added on with the AMG trim. But lots of metal finish here in the very sporty steering wheel, red stitching, lots of buttons and gadgets, and pretty much everything you expect from a premium car maker. All of that has been thrown in, even in terms of the kind of safety features that you have, a lot of the preventive safety features. The screen seems to float out on the dash. That's a nice finish. It is different from the 2 German rivals for sure. And then, of course, you've got the integrated system down here with the command, and all of that is familiar Mercedes-Benz territory. But seeing that they wanted to stay young, they've also added a lot of funky new features, including social media integration and, of course, compatibility with your iPhone.
Yup, you heard me right. The car pairs up to your iPhone like you wouldn't believe, allowing you to not just make calls but also to listen to and share music, post updates on Facebook or Twitter, allow friends to see where you are by pairing up with your navigation system, help you find places of interest, and all of this by simply using your phone's net connection over a 3G network. Pretty cool stuff. Besides that, you have lots of safety features, everything that you can expect. There's cruise control, there's a blind spot warning, a lane departure warning. Yep, pretty much all the bells and whistles. Having spent a fair amount of time with the diesel, I was kind of itching to try my hand at the petrol versions. And I had an interesting chance to do just that. But I'll show you the petrol variants on the show next week. And we will also give you a peek into the company's latest launch in London.
So what do you make of the A-Class? There's lots really riding on that car for Mercedes-Benz globally. In India, it will perhaps make just a small mark initially, but I'm pretty excited that finally we're going to get really premium even in the compact space. So react to that. You know how to do it. On the way into that break, we'll look at our sector snapshot and then we come back and talk about the Duster. So don't worry, all those details are coming up.